Hello and welcome to the Knitting Traditions Podcast. My name is Inga and this is my little corner on the internet where I talk about my knitting. Today I'm coming to you from a very dark and gloomy rainy day, so hopefully with the camera settings we can still make things look alright so you can see the colors that you need to, but it's kind of giving a cozy ambiance. Very fall-like, even though we're going into spring soon. And I have a nice new vintage candle. My parents used to have this when I was little and I found it at a thrift store. I love a good thrift find. So I put that in here for a little coziness, and I have a mug from Tallinn with some coffee mocha. Love it. So I hope you were able to settle in and find a cozy space in your day, and we can talk a little bit about knitting. I am wearing a very exciting new piece. This is my own design that I will be releasing at some point. The next step now is making another sample. I'm paying somebody to help me grade it so that I'm sure it has a good size for different body shapes and a large size range. And then I need to get it tag edited, and then I need to get it tested. And I'll probably call for testers over on Instagram when I get around to that. But that is not in the very near future, so I'll probably mention it on here as well before then. But this is a mix of what I like to have in my top-down raglans that I've put together with some very simple cable details, which are not difficult. You can knit it without a cable needle, and I'll have instructions in the pattern for with or without a cable needle. It's a lot faster without, because essentially you're just moving the position of one stitch over the other or behind the other. So I'm going to show you a little bit closer. It started with knitting back and forth for the neck, and then you pick up the neckline later, and that can give you different options for if you want to have a crew neck, or if you want to have a mock neck, or a double folded turtleneck. I'm working on the second sample now, and that one is either going to have the mock neck or the turtleneck. I'm going to try it on and see how I like it. This is the first sample. This has a shorter ribbed neckline. There are cables running down. There are cables running down the raglan, and there are cables running down the side. This is the tapered model, so there are some decreases that goes into the cables. And the sleeves are also tapered, so there are some invisible decreases that are incorporated into the braids that go all the way down until the cuff. Now I've opted for just a 2x2 cuff all the way around. You could of course just continue the cables to the end if you like, but I wanted the cuffs to match the neckline, so I didn't do that. The reason I haven't woven in the ends yet is because I have two different cuffs. I wanted to try them both and get a photo of both before choosing which one I want for this sample. So I have one of what I like, which are just straight cuffs. They don't go down in needle size, so they don't cinch in so much around the wrist, but I know that some people don't like that. Now this is not very big because there are, like I said, a few decreases here. You can easily do more or less. I might do none of them in a sample at some point, but a little bit of tapering is nice because it still has a very comfortable fit, but it's not in the way. The other one, I did go down in needle size, so it cinches in a lot more than the other one. It's not very obvious, but there is a difference. So both of those are in there. And then all the raglans have the cables. Sleeves have the cables going down, and the sides have the cables going down. And then approximately half of the body is stockinette and half is the braids. Now this one has just, I need to measure, but maybe just a few inches of positive each. Not a lot. It's almost zero, I feel. I like the fit of this. I might make the second sample a little bit bigger. We shall see. But yeah, you do the cables all the way around, and then I do go into the I-cord, but I have just one row of ribbing before to prevent it from rolling up, and that seems to work really well. And that was in like a decision paralysis moment for me, because I really did not want it to roll up, so I had to try some different things to see what to do to make it not roll up, and that seems to have done the trick. So there will be instructions in the pattern. I'll mention there why you're doing, because it seems a little bit weird to go from cables to ribbing to I-cord, but there's a reason behind it all. And yeah, really happy with it. The yarn that I used, I need to show you the yarn. I have my little swatch basket. This is the yarn that I used for this sample. Oops. This is Saga from Filcolana. I want to make samples in different yarns just to show that you can use a lot of different things. This is lamb's wool, and it's 300 meters to 50 grams. Now I've held this double on 4mm needles to get gauge, which for this sample was between 21 and 22 stitches. It blocked out to 21, which is what I want it to be. 21 is typically a DK gauge, but I wanted this pattern to be able to use thinner yarns like the cones that I have held double, because these yarns are very affordable, the cone yarns, and it's 100% wool, non-superwash, great quality yarns. And when you hold them double, there's less pilling than if you were to hold a soft wool single. So I held this double. For the second sample I'm using Majo Supreme Tweed. Now that is, according to the label, a thinner yarn. It's 350 meters, but it feels the same. I'm using 2 strands of that on 4.5 millimeters, and that's giving me gauge. And then I did a swatch with one of my cones. Like I said, I want to use my cones for at least one sample. And I was thinking of doing holes super soft, but I didn't have the color that I was kind of wanting. I wanted to do a dark gray version, like a charcoal, but I had holst tides in my stash, and I've never knit with tides yet. I have one cone, and it's this dark gray, and that is a wool and silk blend. So this, I think, would be a really nice sample for like spring summer knits. Now this fabric is not very thick, so where I live in Norway, this can be used all year round as the main garment in spring and winter with a jacket. Spring and fall with a jacket in the winter, or over dresses in summer evenings. I think this particular version is going to get a lot of use, being this marzipan colorway. So yeah, I had this swatch, and for this one, I think I also used 4.5 millimeters holding the tides double. And then I did a swatch with fivel, which is one of my favorite Norwegian wool yarns. It's sport weight, really. It's 350 meters to 100 grams, but they come in 50 gram balls, so 175 meters to 50 grams. And for that one, I started with a 4.5, thinking that would be what I needed to use, but I went down to the 4 millimeters, and that created the fabric that I really like, and it's the right gauge as well. So I used 4 millimeters to get gauge. I really do recommend when you swap yarns out for a pattern, or even just using the yarn recommended, to do a little swatch, because everyone knits a bit differently, and if you just do that little swatch, you can really use a lot of different yarns for a pattern other than what's recommended. And yeah, you can also play with sizes, of course, but this makes for a really nice fabric for this, at least. So this is the one that I am currently knitting on, the Majo Tweed Supreme. And it's probably not the best yarn for this cable texture because it is a tweed yarn, but I just love this kind of brown and I really wanted it, and it's so soft. This is also 100% wool, except for the tides. All my swatches here are 100% non-superwash wools, which has a lot of great properties. They regulate heat, they don't get cold even if they get wet, they are odor resistant, dirt repellent, just a lot of wonderful things. Now, of course, you can knit this in different types of yarn. It would be really nice to see how it knits in a proper summer yarn, so maybe I'll have to get around to that as well, or see if one of the test knitters at that point will want to do a summer version. But yeah, really enjoying it. It's a nice knit for me at least, and I'm very excited about the prospect of maybe putting a pattern out there, and hopefully the costs will be cancelled out by somebody getting it once it's ready. If not, it's just a really nice experience to see if I can actually make a good pattern, I hope. Alright, next things. I have another finished object. I don't think this was finished last time. I get a little bit confused. There's lots of things going on in my head. I've started work. I'm still tired. But I do think this is a new finished object. This is the staffin cardigan, which is a pattern by Rebecca Clow. She's known as the Crea here on YouTube. And this she has lovely patterns. This is like a pattern that comes as a sweater, a vest, a round neck cardigan, and a V-neck cardigan. I did the V-neck cardigan and I did the body slightly cropped. I did size 4, which is quite oversized on me. And I was having troubles deciding if I were gonna do the regular size or if I was gonna keep knitting it and add some pockets, which are not in the pattern. But I tried it out at the point where I had to make a decision, and I really liked the length, so I decided to just bind off. So if you can see, this is where it hits me now, just below where my jeans start. The same for my sweater design, which are still, I need to find a name for. You can put that below if you have a very nice idea. And yes, so I bound it off. It's quite oversized, but it stays on my shoulders, especially if I just have a like spaghetti strap top underneath. I was wearing it with a store-bought turtleneck underneath, and then it was falling a little bit off, but I think that's because there was a lot of fabric going on. And the buttons, I'm really, really happy with the buttons. I don't know where I bought them. Maybe in Turkey. They look like leather, but they are plastic, unfortunately. But they will last a very long time, and I don't have to worry about throwing this in the machine, because I do machine wash my knits once I have worn it a bit. The first time I will soak it, and then once it's gotten a lot of wear, because non-superwash wool like this rarely needs to be washed. So, but once they do, I put the same kind of colors in the machine on a wool program and lay it flat to dry. Very low maintenance. The yarn is one of my new favorite yarns, which is fivel. It's the newish base from Rauma, the same producer in Norway that makes fivel. It's a looser spun wool yarn. I don't think I have a ball here with me, do I? Or maybe, oh yeah, sorry if I moved. Hey. There we go. This is fivel from Rauma, and it's 100 meters to 50 grams, so it's quite thick. And I really like it. I mean, it does pill a bit. I've worn this a lot since I finished it. I think this is something I needed in my wardrobe. A comfy, loose, casual cardigan in this kind of color. I feel I can dress it up and dress it down. So it's gotten a lot of wear and it is pilling, but I don't think it's very in your face kind of pilling because it is a heathered yarn. It has texture, so it kind of doesn't show up as much. I'm telling myself. I don't think so. I don't think you look at me in the camera now and think, oh my god, that's so pilly. But if I do put my hand up and say there is pilling, you will see there is pilling. So yeah, really, really happy with this. And I don't think it's just a knit and purl kind of texture, except for some simple bobbles, which were very easy to make, not the kind of bobbles that I'm used to and hate. So that was nice. However, I don't think the bobbles show up in this colorway, so I might have done without them, but they weren't bad to make at all, so glad I tried it. And that will section me into a next finished object, also in fivel, together with gynt. They work really well together in the same kind of gauge. And this is the fjære genser, which is, it's a sockyarn pattern, right? Where is it, rauma? Now I'm confused. No, it's rauma. Of course it's rauma, because it's knit in fivel. See what I mean? I have knit this for myself with a turtleneck and a split hem, and I love that sweater. Want to make more. And this is the child's version for Nelly. So I bought the yarn at the local yarn store, but their printer was broken, so I emailed rauma with the receipt that I bought the yarn, and they let me buy the PDF. So this is the child's version. I knit the size 2-year-old. I used the orange fivel, and they didn't have the like white fivel in the store because they were sold out, so I bought gynt, and it worked really well. Now, is this a convenient color for a toddler? No, but she loves spaghetti bolognese, so if there's orange, it kind of matches the color work. I usually take her knits off when she's having meals herself, so it's fine. She hasn't worn this yet. This is probably way too big, but my favorite sweaters to use on her are the oversized too big sweaters, because they're just very easy to get on and off, and they're airy. I just need to roll up the sleeves. So she could wear this for Easter, but I did get yarn in the acquisition section later. I'll show you. I got some yarn to make an Easter sweater for her. But if I don't make it in time, because time is sparse and moving way too fast, then this will be her Easter sweater this year. So very cute, and I like this kind of color work as well, that you have sections of just stockinette between. It breaks it up and makes it very chocolate chippy. And this one I did follow to pattern mostly. I think I might have done something different for the raglan, but I have only 1 stitch between the increases. There might have been more in the pattern. I also did that for the adult version. I think that had 4 stitches and I only did 2 because I do like a more narrow looking raglan. So that is that. And then this is almost a finished object, but I need to weave in ends, and I want your opinion if you have experience with this. I have quite a few balls of yarn in my stash that would make for really nice baby blankets, and I bought this yarn in Turkey when I was pregnant, and I was gonna make a blanket for Nelly. I brought the yarn to the labor and delivery ward thinking this would be a nice project to work on there, but I ended up knitting on something else. And I have people in my life who are having children, so I figured let me debulk my stash a little bit and get this out, because this was 6 skeins of quite a bulky yarn. This is Gazal outlet yarn, and I bought 6 skeins of it, and it's quite obvious that 2 of the skeins were a different kind of dye lot, but they didn't really have dye lots on them, I think. So the last ball that I knit with here is quite a bit warmer toned than the others, and there's one here that is more saturated. But you know what? If I was going to be able to make a blanket out of this, I needed to use all of them, and it's a hand knit, so it's a part of the charm. I cast on 3 stitches, And if you want to make something like this with the yarn that you have, I weighed up my skeins, and then I took 3 of them with less grams first, and the ones that I had a few more grams with I did for the second half. So I started with 3 stitches and I knit back and forth. The last stitch I always slipped with the yarn in front. That creates a neater looking almost I-cord edge. And at the beginning of every row I increased 1 stitch by knitting in the back and front of the second stitch, because the first one I knit. And then I did that until I had used up almost all of those 3 first skeins. And then I knit 6 rows, so that is 3 garter bumps, back and forth with no increases and decreases to make for a nicer looking corner at the center. And then I started knitting the second and third stitch together at the beginning of every row, and still slipping the last stitch with yarn in front, and I did that until I had 3 stitches left and I bound off. And that creates a square garter blanket. I need to block this. I'll probably stretch it quite a bit because garter is very stretchy, so I'll probably stretch it a little bit to make it a bit bigger, but it is plenty big enough for a baby. And this one feels a little bit weighted because it is 600 grams. It's very soft. It's superwash, I think, merino. And I was thinking this would be a nice lap blanket for the car, but the recipient can do whatever they want. The thing is, I have a lot of ends to weave in the back, and I don't really know how to do it in a nice, neat way without it being uncomfortable to feel and visible. So if you know, let me know. That's what needs to be done. Wash, block, and the ends. And then the only whip that I'm actually knitting on right now, which is very strange, is the second sample of my own design. I have lingering whips and I will get back to those and probably show you next time. But I have my second one that I just took out of this bag. This is a beautiful bag which is hand sewn by Unicat in London. She's a new bag maker and she sews up these beautiful little bags herself. They're very sturdy material, and it has this tartan element and a hand embroidered thing. For this one, it's a poisonous mushroom, the fly mushroom, we call it in Norway. And I love this one. In kindergarten, all the kids have like a symbol that is their symbol for their belongings and their shelves. And Nellie's is the little poisonous mushroom, which is quite funny. So she very generously sent me this, and on the inside it has a very nice autumnal looking fabric. So it fits 4 balls comfortably, and in here I have this right now. I'm on my 3rd ball of yarn. This is my sweater design, where I'm using the Majo Supreme Tweed held double. And I have split for the sleeves and the body, and I'm doing the neckline now. So I picked up the neckline following my own instructions, and then I noted to myself how many grams I had left once I had finished the initial 8-row repeats, which is the neckline for the first sample. And now I'm going to knit until the mock length and see how much grams that took additional. And then I'll see if I will do the turtleneck for this one or not, and note down how much yarn grams that take, or I'll do some math and figure it out without actually knitting it for this sample. We shall see. And yeah, it has those nice little cables running down the raglan, and the fabric is just so nice and soft. I don't find this wool itchy at all. Of course, everyone is different, but I do think some wool yarns have longer guard hairs that are more prickly to the senses, and then others are more rounded feeling, drier feeling, and both of these samples fall into that category. So I will link Unicat London below. She is a very fledgling business, so I don't think she has a lot of bags yet, but she is working on it. And yeah, she wanted to send me one to try, and I'm very happy to promote her little business because they are beautifully made. And here is her little logo if you want to see. Unicat London. And then we have, hopefully the battery doesn't run out. The Blanketalong has ended. I have drawn some prizes, so I will put those on screen right now, and I will message these people on Instagram. So the Blanketalong that I had with woolyknit, the winner is catknit2, Bonnie Rowe, Peony_Poro, and Denim and Rain Fibers. So I will message you all on Instagram. And this is the progress I made on my woolyknit blanket. I managed to do 3 panels of this. This Afghan blanket is knit with cable panels. So there's the corner panel, the center panel, and the corner panel, and I have 2 more to go. That is a car knit for me. We are going on a road trip soon, so I'll be starting that panel and probably make it a bit wider than what the pattern says, because I want this to be a bigger knit, or I might do even more panels. We shall see. We shall see. The nice thing is that once I attach those panels, it is wearable until a point in time where I might do more. I used the woolyknit aran cones. Those are 400 grams, and this blanket right now is, if it hits the floor, it comes up to my nose, and I'm 177 centimeters tall. It's long enough, and it's gonna have quite long tassels as well. But this amount of fabric, 2 cones was enough. And yeah, it was a really nice Blanketalong. And I'm gonna continue knitting on blankets because it is a very nice long-term whip to have. It's very simple to pick up. There's no rush, and in the end you get something that's very usable. I knit a advent blanket during this make-along, which I finished, and that's in kindergarten with Nelly. And yeah, I guess technically I also knit this blanket within the deadline, just need to weave in the ends. And I have some other blankets that are also long-term whips, like the quilt blanket from Laura Penrose. So yeah, and I have a summer blanket that's still not done in cotton. So lots of blankets are lingering in my life, but I don't mind. They all have a season where they will bloom in my life. Just right now, this is what I'm focusing on now when I'm driving, or I'm a passenger in the car. I don't knit and drive. Don't knit and drive. You need your hands on the wheel. Unless you're a superhuman with more hands and eyes and brains. So that's not a thing. Next, let's suction into acquisitions before the camera runs out. Just a little sip of coffee. Oh! There is one more finished object, but Nelly has it on in kindergarten. I made her another baby bear balaclava in this yarn. This is a hand-dyed yarn that I bought in the K2P2 festival in Breda. And I don't remember the tag because it's in Dutch and I don't know how to pronounce it. But this is a sockyarn that I thought was just really beautiful. And I held it with silk mohair because I do think this is a superwash, and I there's something with my hands, I don't like the feeling of it, but if I pair it with the silk mohair, that kind of improves the feel of the fabric. I'm a very tactile person. So I knit the baby bear balaclava. This is fingering weight, so I held it double for the brim and then single with the silk mohair for the rest. It's a thicker yarn that is in the pattern, but I find they fit a little bit small. So what I did, some modifications, is I did the smallest size for the brim, and then the 2 to 3 year old for the head, and then the largest for the neckline, and even a few extra increases. And it fits really well, and it's gonna fit for a long time. And I'm gonna show you maybe next time, unless she's still wearing it. Acquisitions. So Unicat London also sent me another one that I haven't started using yet. This beautiful black colored canvas cotton with this, is it herringbone fabric with the little nuts? It's very cute. And inside it has a very nice autumnal fabric again, just up my alley. So some beautiful, beautiful bags, and we shall see. I'll either keep this for another project that I have in mind, or I might keep it nice and clean for a future giveaway on here. So I'll have to have a think about that. It is really beautiful. And acquisitions wise, my cousin and I went to Bergen for a day to pick up my aunt and uncle at the airport. We have an airport in Førde where I live, but it's really small and very expensive to fly those little planes. So usually we fly from Bergen. It's about 3.5 hours. So we drove down to pick them up, and we did a little tour of the new yarn stores. And they're pretty much right next to each other. They're within like 500 meters, all three new yarn stores that opened up the same fall or something. And I found one yarn in one of the stores. Now I have 2 balls of this in my stash already. My mom made the Monday sweater for Nelly, and she looks so cute in this. She used 1 ball of the Footprints Wool Addicts by Lang Yarns, together with 2 balls of silk mohair from Isaiah. And she's quite a loose knitter, so this is probably too loose of a gauge compared to what's supposed to be. But it's a beautiful badge. It's a beautiful fabric, very like flowy, airy, lightweight, easy to get on and off. And it's quite oversized now, but it just looks so cute. And I kind of want to have a matching one for me. Now it's not my colors, I know, but it's very spring and fun, and I kind of want to have it on my needles. And then maybe I will gift it to someone if I don't wear it because of the colors. Or maybe I will wear it and match Nelly. But yeah, I had 2 balls, and I figured 2 balls is not going to be enough. Probably it recommends, does it say sometimes? Yarn balls will say how much they recommend you get. Yeah, they recommend 400 grams for an adult female. So 4 balls of this. But seeing as my mom managed to do quite a big size with 1, I think if I were to replicate her gauge, I could easily make one for me with 3 balls. And if not, I can get another one. The one that I got is not the same dye-lot as the other 2, but since they are such a variegated, crazy colorway, I don't really think it matters. So maybe that is a spring knit for me. We shall see. But yeah, I will have to swatch, find the gauge, and then do a little bit of math to see which size would be a good size for me using that gauge. Still wanting to make a little video about how to do those calculations. It all makes sense in my head, but it's harder to explain it. But at one point, I will try to get that out there to share what my process is. There's probably lots of videos already on the internet about it, but oh well. Next, we managed to squeeze in the hillesvåg. They closed at 2, and we managed to get out of the house just in time to go into the store before they closed. So the hillesvåg mill has the store downstairs with all of the yarns, and then upstairs they have a little sales section. You can also see like where they produce the yarn and everything with some really old machinery. And I did good. I didn't buy any yarn for me per se, and I only got yarn from the sales bin. So they had these colors, and they were screaming Easter at me. These are sockyarns. This is the fjære sockyarn 2, which is 250 meters per 100 grams. And it's 80% Norwegian wool and 20% nylon. So I got 3 of each, and I got a paper pattern for a sample that they had in store. This is a Jul number 3, which means Christmas number 3. And this is a pattern that Augustine's made for hillesvåg. And I saw the samples, and they were just so pretty. I think the samples were knit in Sol, which is their lamb's wool yarn. It's not exactly the same yardage as this one, but I think I can make it work either way. So I'll just swatch and see, and probably I will do the yellow with pink, but I might also do the other way around. I have enough yarn to do either way, and what yarn I have left over after knitting this will be socks, probably for me. Maybe for both of us, we can have matching. But that is the idea anyway. I'm sorry about the little noise. The last acquisition was one from one of the other yarn stores in Bergen, which is now my new favorite. It's called fjære. It's a beautiful layout, and that's where I had the Majo Supreme tweed. I had 2 balls of this in my stash already, and I was thinking about making a hat, but couldn't quite decide. And then I went back to the store and I thought, this would make a really nice second sample of my sweater design. It's a few more meters, but it works really well for the same gauge. She only had 5 balls left, and I think I had bought 8 balls of the Saga, but I didn't use quite 8 balls. But then for this sample, I wanted to do a longer neck and a more boxy fit. So I was thinking I will need more meters, but then this is 50 meters more per ball. So I got those 5, so I have 7, and I think it's going to be fine. We shall see. If not, I can always rip back the neckline and do a regular neckline, and that will give me more yarn to work with. But yeah, this is the chestnut colorway, and those 5 balls that I bought were the same dye lot as the 2 I had bought from her previously, so lucked out there. She's quite a new store, so I had hopes for it, and luckily it all came to be. And yes, I think that is what I am working on right now and what I have finished. I have some lingering whips that I will get back to. I have some other things that I want to start. But yeah, right now this whip is giving me what I want it to give me, so I'm enjoying that. And hopefully it's not too long until I can catch up with you guys again. Until then, I hope you're well. I hope you're making all the things that make you happy, and I will see you soon. Bye!